Right. So another support calls on the subject matter concepts that making up Sprint 2.3. So very much geometries related. And I think we should basically leave the floor open for any questions people might have. Let me go around, just checking one by one. Ladies first. Nadia, do you have any questions or comments that you'd like to bring up for this call?
No, thank you. I just was curious if there are any news on your side or on the side of the whole team.
As far as the files that have been produced, for example?
Sorry?
As far as files that have been produced by others, for example?
Yes. Or
So
any changes regarding or any news regarding the concept templates or concept usages, or stuff like this.
Lars, do you want to comment on the example files that we have and the submissions that have been made by our friends at Beaver Control, for example?
I mean, I would say that the one really new concept would be the voxel grid, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I mean,
if I may jump in, perhaps with a slightly different topic, but still with Nadia. Nadia, you still have 2 pull requests that are open, that are number 35 and number 69. I just wanted to ask you if you're, since you're here, should we take a look at this? Are you just going to, let's say, retire them and open a new one when you're going to have a file ready? How should we proceed there? What are your plans?
I had no plans actually regarding these pull requests. Currently, we didn't have much time for that, so that's why it's still there open.
Because I think that at least, I mean, the 1.1, I believe we should have another look at it. But 69,
I'm not sure. Related.
Is the 69 pull request, which is the create Alplan georeferencing A example, is this one superseding the Sprint 1.1, or are these separate, 2 separate files?
So there was one from the very first sprint, and there is another one for the second sprint, right? 1.2.
Correct.
Right.
Yes. And for the second sprint, there are some stuff still missing that are from that sprint. And for the first one, I think you've corrected everything, but I need to double check that. I just wondered if you're planning to open a new pull request with a file for sprint 2.3, so for the current sprint, and we just close those 2 and you've, let's say, superseded both of them, and that's it, or how should we?
I'm
if
not
you have
planning
any specific plans.
I'm not planning anything for the current sprint, or even the next one.
Well, we hope you get some resources, you get some time to get to sprint 3 topics as well, because they are quite fun.
And Stefan, the reason why the file named sprint 1.2 is merged is because it is failing a few checks.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I think it has the same error than the first from sprint 1.1, and maybe something more. I don't remember now exactly.
Yeah, I'll have a definite look at them and write up what exactly is it that is missing.
Mm.
I just wanted to know if it's still your intention to have them merged, or are you producing new files? But yeah, that gives me the necessary information. Thank you, Nadia.
Okay.
It says to me that the logs for this run have expired and are no longer available. Is that something that happens after a time or something?
That is correct. Yeah, we are on the free version of GitHub, and GitHub deletes the logs after 90 days.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
So, but you can restart the run, and of course the checker, since the checker itself has been updated as well, it's going to check the 1.1 and 1.2 concepts. Let's continue then, perhaps, among the participants.
Yep. Hanu, since you were the first to join this morning, any comments, questions?
No, not really. I got notification from Stefan 16 hours ago. There are some comments related to our IFC files, and I think I already have fixed those, but I can recheck them, and if needed, I can then merge them to them.
So
GitHub.
Yeah, Hanu, I had a closer look yesterday at all the files and everything, and tried to put some hints as to what you should change. And if you have any difficulties, please do contact me. Also, you can contact me directly, and we can make a impromptu session real quick, where because I know that the checker, especially this later sprints, the checker messages are a bit cryptic, because the checker is checking bigger graphs, and it's not in. If it fails at any step of the graph, the message is still the same. So of course it's sometimes hard to see what exactly is it that bothers it. But I can definitely. We can have an impromptu session if you require assistance.
Yeah. Okay.
Could I have just a small thing? It would be easier now, let's say in sprint 3, if you have multiple files, to have one file per pull request. At least I think so. It's a lot to go through, and if it's an error in one file, then everything sort of stops like this. I mean, this is 6 files or something, right? So
yes, I joined this call. It's perhaps something that we could have communicated at the very beginning of the project, but this is something we learned through the project to encourage participants one file per pull request. It makes it easier also to see what the checker thinks about that one individual file. But Hanu, there's no need for you to close the pull request now and do anything there. But for the next file, so if you're going to submit any files for sprint 3 topics, just open a new pull request if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
But if I do changes in single file and merge that single file to the GitHub, then why do we have to go through all these other files to check or recheck them all?
I don't completely understand your question.
I mean, I doesn't the checker, it goes through all files in the pull request or something, right? Every time, doesn't it, Stefan?
Yeah, the checker filters the changed files or the newly added files from a pull request. So if your branch has, I think Hanu, your branch has 6 or 7 files that are different from the main branch of the main repository, and so the action that runs in the background, it filters out the newly added files and checks all of them, because the checker is set up in such a way that it checks all the files that have been changed and or added, but it ignores the deleted files.
Yeah. But the last time, for example, I updated only one file and merged that what was changed, and it was only one file.
The pull request itself still has all of the files locked as change, because the unit of testing is the pull request, not the commit.
Okay, that explains.
Yes.
Okay, no more questions from my side.
Thank you. Adam, any things you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, I was looking at the project team's example file. I was just wondering with the IFC rel positions, because it looks like the site that's referenced, it does have a positioning element, and then it seems like the IFC rel positions is another one, but they do eventually resolve to the same thing. But I was just wondering how that's all working and what's the deal with that.
Good point. Lars, you want to expand on this?
It was a long time since I created that file. Now I actually need to go back to really grasp the question there. I'm sorry.
Let me
have
help you, perhaps. Let me chime in here. I believe this comes to this requirement here. So the first requirement is sprint 2.3. I hope you're seeing my screen.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So the product relative positioning and product linear placement concepts that are, let's say, orchestrating together is that we said that this IFC site should be, placed along an alignment or a referent, and so it has to have this IFC rel positions relationship to a positioning element. So this IFC site has a inverse attribute positioned relative to, that is basically pointing to a IFC rel positions, and that one has a direct attribute relating positioning element, which is, for example, could be an IFC alignment or an IFC referent, and either of those has an object placement. And what we said is, of course, if you place semantically the site along a positioning element, so like an alignment or referent, then its object placement relative to shall point to the object placement of the positioning element it is positioned.
Yeah, so maybe to reduce the confusion, I mean, one is the relative positioning and the other is the relative placement. And these two sort of go hand in hand, right?
Correct.
So if the site is positioned relative to the referent, its placement is also relative to the placement of the referent, right?
Correct. It's a similar thing to what we see in the spatial structure in the, let's say, building domain, or in the existing IFC concept, where the product local placement, so that would be here on the right hand side, and the spatial containment, I believe, are also intertwined in such a manner.
Yeah. So, for example, a tunnel, or let's say, what should we say, an excavation contained in the site should also be placed relative to the site where it's contained. So it always follows these sort of positioning, aggregation, or containment structures.
Could you please explain what is the difference between position and placement?
So in a simple sentence, that's how I interpret it. So positioning is just a semantic meaning of stating something is positioned relative to something else. You don't say anything about the exact coordinates of that positioning. You don't tell anything about, you know, the exact extent. You just state the semantic relationship between two objects, stating that, you know, one is positioned relative to the other. Like, you know, you could have columns positioned relative to a grid, but you're not stating which grid intersection you've taken for those columns or for each individual column. But placement itself is really just stating which grid intersection you've taken. So if I open this both concepts here, so product relative positioning, it basically just connects the product through array positions to a positioning element. So it just states the relationship. It doesn't state the parameters of the relationship, so to say. And then the linear placement, it uses, for example, the IFC axis to placement linear that gives you the exact parameters. So the location, the axis, so it tells you the orientation, it tells you the coordinate values, it tells you how to really place it in the thing. And as here can be seen, a product that is linearly placed should reference the local placement of a linear positioning element. And on the other positioning concept template is a product is repositions to a positioning element. So both need to be present. So it's basically making sure that the graph is then, you know, converging at the same positioning element.
You need both concepts in place, and then it should be relative to the same object. And so,
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, then I understand the principles there. Good. Thank you.
So the checker will tell if one is missing.
So the checker will currently just say it checks the whole graph. So it checks that it arrives by both graph traversals, that it arrives at the same element, but it doesn't tell you yet which kind of relationship you're missing, if it's positioning or if it's placement that it cannot find. That's it just complains that the 1.I is missing or cannot be evaluated or cannot be found. So that's what I also meant with bit cryptical messages that where I provided hints to Hanu as to what is probably missing.
And is there somewhere in the documentation something that says that the two have to go with each other?
That's so it's definitely here that they have to go with one another.
Okay.
So in our usages, in our requirements, and I'm not sure if we've come so far, but that would be the responsibility of an MVD to state that.
Okay.
And I'm not sure we're at that stage already.
Okay.
But what I can showcase, at least on the more established part, is I think it's at site. So if we look at IFC site, yeah, this sketch is the one that really conveys. So you have the element containment concept, which is that a product is well contained in spatial structure. And here you can see that the local placement is relative to the local placement of the building. So here, what we are requesting in the Sprint 2.3 is just replace here a local placement that on the right-hand side has to be a linear placement. And this has to be a rel positioned, not a rel contained. And we don't have an IFC building here, but an IFC alignment or an IFC referent.
Okay. Thanks. Adam, does it answer your question?
Yep. I need to look at there. Yep.
And please, Lars, do correct me if I've.
I completely agree with you.
Okay. Great.
Okay, good. Thanks. Adam, any other questions?
That's it for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Jan-Erik, you did jump in, and thank you for this, but maybe you had other points.
No, I haven't done any practical work. I just have done some planning, and the only thing I thought was difficult was what you explained right now. So that was very good. And we had this small talk yesterday about geo model and geoscience model, but that's maybe a little bit out of scope here now, but that was very clarifying for me yesterday.
Good. Yeah,
So
you're right. We will touch it
happy,
on the sprint story too.
and I hope I can do some of this stuff in the weekend. So we are meeting the timeline for this sprint.
Excellent.
And I think
Excellent.
Artemis is working with the voxel model as we speak, or today at least, later today.
Okay.
We have a call this afternoon together.
Very good. Good. That's excellent. And if anything pops up, you can always join the support call this evening if you wish, of course.
Yeah, that could be. And Stefan, I think I thought I had success with the last sprint, but I have a pull request that is still open. Is it so?
I'll have a look right away. I just
found
that
something.
there's a mistake in the sprint. This was wrong.
I thought it was a success, but maybe it was not.
Let me have a look.
That's 129.
129.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is the thing that we've just discussed, and so I've also commented here, and you have two IFC course elements in there, and the checker is a bit too strict here, because it doesn't account for all of the possibilities yet. So this is something that we will just override for your file, because you have used surface model. We are searching for tessellation, but surface model in the case of IFC course is of course also fine. So this is on us. You also have somehow the GitHub is picking up that the project teams, our example file has been changed in a pull request, and I don't know what the checker is doing here. That is a bug. That's not a feature. But what I found is that your IFC site does not have the required properties on the IFC site that we have asked for, and it also doesn't have an object placement, which is probably just the same thing as here.
Yeah, I thought I had fixed this, but I will go back and when I do this work for this sprint, I will go back and
yes,
inspect and find out what's happened.
Yeah, perhaps.
Sure, I didn't have two pull requests or something, and one was a success and the other was a failure. That I had done something
you had
messy, but I was so sure that it was an okay on this one.
So but, you had a tick somewhere, yeah, here in between. You had a tick.
Okay.
But then you made one commit and it failed then.
Okay.
So perhaps have a look at what exactly you changed from here to there.
And just one thing regarding the missing required properties. I saw that you updated the description, Stefan. It should be ID with capital letters at the end.
Oh yeah, exactly what you've just seen, Jan Erik, that I've changed. So what Lars has just pointed out, yeah, we had a typo here. So the Beaver control, a colleague from Beaver noticed that PSET land registration has land ID as ID with capital letters. And when we were copying over, we somehow missed that.
Okay. But how is it now if I try to have a successful pull request for the previous sprint? It will also check for the rules for the current sprint, right? So I need.
That is correct. That means that the checker will will note that it's a failure, but we as a project team, if you say you're only supporting up to sprint 2.2, then we will just override the checker. The checker is just it's just a helper to us. It's not the judge.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. See what I can do in the weekend.
Yeah.
And
again, to all of you, if you require any assistance or anything, you can open an issue, of course. This is what we would love to see, to have an open discourse. But if you're shy, you can also send us an email.
Very good. Thank you.
Stefan, since you are on the pull request created by our friends, colleagues here, can you have a look at the one by Artemis, the 132? What's in there?
That one only actually contains a deleted file.
Okay,
I think
still.
we actually, yeah.
Okay.
This one is passing the checker because there's nothing to check. So
right.
Because the checker is turned off if there are only deletions. You can see here to the top right that there's 0 additions, but 600 lines of deletions, which is fine. That's housekeeping. But I wonder if Artemis wanted to submit something, but somehow did not manage.
Okay. All right. Have we gone through all the burning questions? Anything else that we would like to inform the team about?
Looking forward to seeing you next week in the morning, right? So morning, the European morning, for the launch of Sprint 3.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. 8 o'clock. Good. So if no other points, then I think we can adjourn this one. And of course, for those who are interested, we have another support call this evening, 6 p.m. CET time. Okay, with this, I thank you for your time again with us and your commitment to the project, of course. You have a good day, good evening. See you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.